Well, we're finally here. The Acolyte trailer is out. It feels like this show has been in production for the longest time. I guess the strikes, obviously affected a lot of things. And this show was announced a couple of years ago now. And firstly, I want to say, if you are used to me putting my reactions up over on my, main channel, and you've not subscribed here, then please consider doing so. I know I normally post my Bad Batch reactions over on the main channel, but I am going to be moving any Star Wars related content to here from now on. So again, if you're visiting for the first time, I'd appreciate a subscription. If you're coming from the main channel and you're not subscribed here, why not subscribe? This is where almost all of the Star Wars content is going to be after the Bad Batch is finished. So you definitely want to be subscribed here. So yeah, I mean, the Acolyte, it's been around for a while in production. It's just been announced yesterday that June the 4th is the day that it will release on Disney+. And I'm looking forward to it for a couple of reasons. One, because we are finally going to get some kind of an insight into the dark side. I'm someone who's always gravitated more towards the stories of the bad guys. I was always more intrigued by the Empire than the Rebels. And it's not because I want to see them win, it's because they always offer such a different story. There's always more of a complexity there, because characters are morally grey. They don't do what you expect them to do. And so to be able to see now something different and see how the Sith, came back from almost extinction. And, you end up with Darth Plagueis. And there's a lot of people who are, speculating that he will make an appearance at some point in this show. And it might, spread into potential spin-offs or a film about Plagueis and Palpatine's early years. And that would be great if it could. I think it will very much depend on the success of this show. But the other reason is because it covers the High Republic era. It's the first live-action show that is going to cover that particular time frame. And, it's only been 4 years since the High Republic was actually started. And I myself am only sort of 2/3 of the way through Phase 1. I'm yet to read Fallen Star, but I've read the first 2 books of Phase 1, so I'm still quite new to the High Republic era, but I do have some kind of familiarity with the characters. Stellan Gios, whose apprentice, I believe, is going to be in this show. But this show takes place many, many years after any of the events of Phase 1, 2, or 3. So it's not essential that you know anything from the High Republic, which is a clever choice, because otherwise, you're gonna start off with a disadvantage from the get-go, because people are just not gonna know where to start with this. So I'm glad that they made that decision to not directly tie it into any pre-existing story, simply just have it be in that era. So, we are going to jump in. I don't know what to expect other than, some High Republic era Jedi and, the setting. Because there are characters that will be alive during this time. Yoda. I'm trying to think of others. It's completely gone from my head. But definitely a lot of people from, the novels that we've been reading. There is potential for tie-ins to the original trilogy, or the prequels even. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. So we're going to jump in, watch the trailer. Let's go.
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you.
Okay.
You must not trust them.
I love the purple robes.
Tell me.
Purple is my colour.
Your mind.
Balance. Oh, it's Little Ray. Which I don't know whether people are going to enjoy that or not, but... Ooh. Okay. That's pretty cool. I'm all for some Force Jujitsu.
It doesn't make sense.
Oh, was that Burry?
What happened?
I sensed darkness.
That's Venestra. That's Stellan's apprentice.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power. And who is allowed to use
I love her look.
is that?
Yes. There you go. That's more like it. Let's go. Oh, is that it? Keeping it really short. 2 episodes. God damn. Yeah, so keeping it really short. Really sweet. Barely any story information, which I'm good with. It's clearly a time where the Jedi are still at their height, you would guess, and someone is going around killing them. Which, you know, again makes for an intriguing story, especially if you let us focus on the people who are taking out the Jedi, rather than just being purely from the Jedi's perspective. But some very, very familiar faces there. And Zuko is now trying to interrupt by scratching on his cat tree. You can see down here, he is going at it. No, again, a very short and sweet sort of little trailer. I loved the end where they all pull out the lightsabers and go at it. You know, don't get me wrong, I love the intrigue of storytelling. I love Andor. I love, you know, the kind of subterfuge and the twists and turns. But sometimes you just love a good saber fight. You know, you don't get to see them very often on a large scale nowadays. And so I think a good old-fashioned big Jedi battle would do pretty well. There's not much really to comment on here because we don't know much about the story. We can only comment on the tone, the look of the show, which, again, I can tell that there's probably going to be a heavy use of the volume. As long as it's kept to where it's strongest, so when it's used to supplement sets rather than being the set itself, I feel like that's when it's strongest. The characters look great. I love the High Republic robes. You know, again, I think it's Venestra. That's her name. Stellan's apprentice. She only got a very short amount of time here. As did the Wookiee Jedi. I'm not sure if that's Burryaga or if it's a different Wookiee Jedi. Burryaga's the only one that I know from the books. And I don't think they've clarified as to who that might be. But the look of the show, the tone of it, you know, as if we are going to be getting these scenes where the Jedi are just minding their own business. All of a sudden, someone's going to try and, you know, shank them. And you get these really interesting force fights. That one in that cantina, that little sort of off-world cantina, looked really interesting. The Jedi didn't even need to pull out their saber. It was just kind of like, I'm just going to use the Force and use some martial arts. And the person attacking them didn't necessarily seem to be using the Force either. I think the person in the purple robes is going to be our main antagonist, if that's what you can consider it when you're following a story about the dark side. Maybe the main character from the dark side point of view. And I can only assume that there's going to be several people on both sides. Not everyone on the dark side is going to be a Sith. I'm going to assume that they will be, you know, people in league with the Sith who maybe are helping them. But I would like to see, you know, again, I've not read up much on this show, so I don't know character names. I don't know anything about it other than what we've seen in the trailer. I'm going to assume that there's at least going to be 2 Sith involved, if that's the way it's going to be. And that's my question, really, is that if this is in the High Republic era, we're looking at between 100 to 150 years before the prequels, which means that one way or another, this has to be very, very close to Darth Plagueis. So it either has to be Darth Plagueis' master, or completely unrelated Sith, which is a bit of a different take. So I'll be very interested to see how this ties into that larger Sith story. Again, there's not a lot we can really go on there. I can't really do a breakdown on the trailer too much because, again, this has taken place in a completely new era that a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with characters that no one really knows. You can try and theorize on the story plots, but I mean, they've kind of said it outright. People are hunting down the Jedi, and so that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a story about the Jedi trying to find out who it is who's hunting them, and the people hunting them, why are they doing it? How successful are they? You know, and will anything happen on that journey to change their mind? Who knows? Where's it go? I do hope this show is successful. We've got 2 episodes coming out on the 4th of June, which isn't that far away now. It's just crazy to think about it. I'm sure it was Christmas just yesterday. But I will be checking them out. I'll be posting reactions here rather than my main channel. I'm trying to mitigate everything over Star Wars to here. So if you haven't, please do consider subscribing. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.